So Nahuatl joined the ranks of what? Of English and German and other languages that are also recorded using Latin letters. Because we don't write English using the English alphabet. There's no such thing. We use the Roman alphabet. And Nahuatl is recorded using the Roman alphabet as well. It's not a perfect fit. Right? So, and there's no universal agreement on what letters to use. So to use a C or to use a K, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't. Right? The sound is ka. So what you use doesn't matter. Don't let anyone convince you otherwise. Some people say, that's wrong. It's not wrong. Right? It's just a different way of doing it. But anyway, that's the way it's done. Okay. Then what begins to happen is the following. That some of the Spanish priests decide that, well, we're not getting very far with this matter of conversion, and some wise guy says, you know what, you guys are missing the whole boat here. What we have to do is figure out what makes these people tick. It's not what the speakers tick. Once we figure that out, then we can convert them. Because, as he said, para destruir al demonio, to destroy the devil, primero hay que conocerlo. You must first get to know him. Who said that? Father Bernardino, who was a teacher of Spanish and Latin to some Nahuatl-speaking kids. So his idea was, let's get to know the Nahuatl culture. Once we know it, well, we can uproot it, destroy it, and implant our own. So what does he do? He goes to some government officials who then contact some of the local leaders who will gather together a group or groups of individuals considered to be knowledgeable in the indigenous culture. So you're the ones. And then you are my students who are very familiar with the Roman alphabet. And I put together a questionnaire that's going to, extract information from them. And I pattern it after old types of questionnaires. I don't know if you heard of Pliny the Elder, anyone? Roman historian? Albertus Magnus, the teacher of St. Thomas of Aquinas. They had something similar to that, so I base it on them. I have questionnaires having to do with the mundane, right? The earth itself, the human, and the divine. And that's the way I divide it. So I put together a questionnaire in what language? In what language? So I ask you questions, and you respond. And what do? You take down the information using Latin letters. In the process, I gather spontaneous information from you, but also I get part of that oral tradition. The songs and the poems and so forth, and the sermons. I should say sermon, I don't like that term. Wewe tlachtoli, right? Tlachtoli means words, wewe, old words, the ancient words that have been circulating orally for centuries in a very formal literary style. And all of that is being transcribed. And what do? I know some Nahuatl, so I take a look at that when I get home. And you know what? This is pretty good, actually. And as I keep reading, I say, this can't be the work of the devil. So I'm going to continue collecting this information for its own sake. And you people get excited, and you get excited. And I go to different places, and I gather the information. And gradually, my superiors find out what's going on. And you know what? This guy has changed his approach. So my documentation, my project is stopped. My documentation is taken away, shipped to Spain. It's in Spain today. It's called Los Códices Matritenses. Have you heard of that? Los Códices Matritenses? They're in Madrid, Spain. But guess what? I had a copy. And the original is, guess where? I don't know how it got there, but it is. Anyone? In Florence. In Florence. The Florentine Codex. Has anyone been to Florence? You have? Are you familiar with the Church of St. Lawrence?
What is it?
I'm sorry?
Yeah. What is that?
It's the documentation, the information that Father Bernardino was collecting from all these natives. The Church of St. Lawrence is right next to the Mercato Central, and there's a library there, the Biblioteca Medicea, and they have the Códice Florentino there. Actually, there's two of them. One is Mexican in Nahuatl, and the other one is in Latin. It has nothing to do with Mexico at all. But anyway, in this particular documentation, we have all sorts of examples of literature, of songs, of poems, of these ancient words, Wewe Tlachtoli. And that's what we're going to be going over. Okay? All right. So, let's take a look at this. Do we have enough?
Did anybody need one? We got some more here.
First of all, the information, yes.
In your book, you say that Nahuatl means good sounding.
Yeah, good sounding, clear.
You say it means clear.
Yeah,
So is
it means clear, it means beautiful, good sounding. Yeah. It's just, it's a concise dictionary. I was working on a comprehensive one, but in concise dictionaries, you don't put each and every single meaning necessarily, just commonly occurring. But I've heard of Nahuali, which means spirit, but the Nahua there and the Nahuatl in Nahuatl is related. It's the idea of clarity. So, ni Nahuatlacto, I speak now, I speak clearly, I speak beautifully. You know. Okay. The source of information, well, of course, Spaniards in the 16th century took down, because they wanted to learn the Nahuatl language themselves and they wanted to teach it to other Spaniards, so they jotted down basic principles for the Nahuatl, right? Father Alonso de Molina, for example, is one of the first to do this. And if you take a look at all the documentation from that period, it's pretty much what you get from there, all right, as it was spoken at that time. And the vowels, for the time being, you know, it's pretty much like Spanish. There are long vowels and short vowels, but you don't have to worry about those. Now, this is important. There are about 4 or 5 points here. The stress, by that I mean the accent, right, the force with which we pronounce a vowel or a syllable, is on the second from the last syllable. There's only one exception to that. That's when you talk to someone. So, Quetzalcoatl, Quetzalcoatle. No Nansin, my mother, no Nansine. Beyond that, second from the last syllable. So take a look at the last syllable and stress the one before that. So let's take a look at this. Everyone, Acapulco. Yeah, the last one is ko, so we stress the one before that. Look at the next one, Mazatlan. Everyone, Mazatlan? Now, most of us say Mazatlan. Right. Yeah, that's the Hispanic pronunciation. If you want to do that, that's fine, but in Nahuatl, it's Mazatlan. The next one, Tenochtitlan, as opposed to what? Tenochtitlan. The Secretaría de Educación Pública, since 1992, has been going over all its textbooks and maps and so forth, and they're spelling Nahuatl words without the accent marks, so that we stress the second from the last syllable. Okay, so stress there. Final TL is a digraph, or two letters that occur at the end of nouns. Very, very common. And how do you pronounce that? You pronounce the T and release the L at the sides of the tongue. So listen to the way I say the following. I'm going to say the word for water. Listen to it. Atl. Atl. So atl. Release the air at the sides. Try it. Atl. The word for bean, etl. The word for arrow, meat. Okay? Now let's mispronounce. I'm going to mispronounce atl. Atl. You do the same thing. Atl. Let's mispronounce etl. Meatl. Now let's say atl. Etl. Meat. Can you hear the difference? Which one is correct? Atl or atl? Atl. Okay? Tourist guides in Mexico City are notorious for this, right? Always. Yeah.
This American conference, we
Same thing?
throughout.
Yeah. Quetzalcoatl. I had a professor at UCLA, Quetzalcoatl. Quetzalcoatl, actually. Yeah. I mean, you know, you should be careful with these things, I think, you know. I'm sorry? Chocolatl. Yeah. The TL is always part of a syllable, always part. So, chocolatl. Latl is the last, and then the ko is second from last. Chocolatl. Okay, let's try this. Here, wait. Tomatl. Again, tomatl. Now let's mispronounce. Tomatl. Okay. The next one, of course, tomate comes to there, obviously. Dead giveaway. Most nouns in Spanish that end in TE, most, right, originally were TL.